Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us. It's an interesting experience to try and recreate the energy and the excitement that we have at this event each year in January. This time last year, we were at the Hyatt. We had 100 plus people in a room. We were talking about all the amazing things we were going to do in 2020, and that didn't quite go the way anybody had expected. But this morning, we appreciate everybody taking out some time to listen, to experience, our updates from last year and our year moving forward, and hope that this is valuable to you and it's an opportunity to connect on the front end of the year with my possibilities. So with that, it is a virtual meeting. So you guys, everybody on this call has probably been in a million virtual meetings, and we all know the faux pas associated with that. So do me a favor for the sake of today. We'll be speaking to you, and there will be a section towards the tail end, a couple of polls here and there. We'll interact, but we ask you please go ahead and keep it on mute. You can turn cameras off if you'd like. If you want to wave at each other, that's fine too. Just remember, you're on a Zoom call. There's roughly going to be 100 other people there, so maybe keep your camera off. Who knows what's going to happen in the background. So we'll go ahead and get started. My name is Michael Thomas. I'm the Executive Director here at My Possibilities. And thank you for whether you're a board member, a volunteer, a donor, a family, a staff member, or just somebody who found out about My Possibilities and you're interested in what we're doing. Welcome, and thank you for being here with us today. It's going to be rapid pace. We're going to talk a lot. We're going to give you some exciting news. We're going to have an amazing conversation with one of our partners and provide you with a little bit of opportunity to engage as well. But it's, we're not going to keep here more than about 45 minutes this morning. So hang tight, grab your coffee, and enjoy the show, if that's what this is. So up front, we're going to ask you, we're going to host a quick poll. And for everybody that's in the meeting here, it's pretty simple. Just curious how long you or somebody, how long you or your company has been involved with My Possibilities, and your choices are going to be 1 to 2 years, 3 to 5 years, more than 5 years, or this is my first exposure to My Possibilities. And those numbers are popping up here, and it just gives me a little bit of an understanding of who's in the room with us. And looking at those responses, those numbers so far, there's one magical human being that this is your first exposure to My Possibilities, and I think everybody can say welcome to MP. It looks like just over half of the people in the room have been engaged with MP more than 5 years, and about 40% have been engaged between 1 and 5 years. So excellent. Thank you very much for everybody for coming back and being a part of the MP family, and for the 25 plus people that have already said they've been involved for more than 5 years. Your family. So thanks for hanging out. I want nothing more in the world than to just hug everybody. And so this is especially rough to see all these amazing names and everybody that's in this room, and no, not yet, but soon for sure. So first thing I'm going to do is a quick update on 2020. A lot of people have probably seen some of our messages, read some of our letters, and have a pretty good idea of how we did in 2020. But for those that are maybe a little more on the outside looking in, fast update on last year. Our 2020 kicked off in this meeting a year ago, where we were talking about the exciting things to come in the year. And we were going to be breaking ground on our second building, the Career Services Center. And that, believe it or not, that building was supposed to begin construction March the 26th, and on March the 16th, we shut down. That was a rough day for a lot of people, a lot of Americans, a lot of our families and our HIPsters. And we worked diligently, and we got MP Online set up in about 2 to 3 weeks and began supporting our adults at home virtually. Went back in the middle of the year in June and dealt with COVID just like everybody else did. Very limited capacity programming and trying to navigate the nature of what happens when somebody tests positive. And it was a challenging year, but this organization, our staff, did an amazing job to make sure that our HIPsters and families were safe, but still provided for, whether that was on site in a limited and spaced out safe capacity, or virtually with our guys at home. And it has turned into a phenomenon. You'll hear a little bit more about that here in a few minutes. But a couple of major wins. First of all, that programming was something we probably never would have opened up. And now we have HIPsters who are engaging educationally that aren't geographically aren't close enough to benefit from my possibilities. That's a huge win. And on top of that, we have HIPsters who have been in group homes since the pandemic started and have very limited social engagement. And MP Online and all the chats that we're putting together there are giving them that outlet. And it's a major component of human interaction, is just being able to communicate with others. And this portal for us has demonstrated that it's something that needs to exist indefinitely, and it will. It's a big opportunity. We also had, for those that haven't already purchased, magical bars of soap from soaphope.com. In January last year, we launched our first true social enterprise endeavor by acquiring and rebranding Soap Hope. And we did not know in January of 2020 that 2 months later, we were going to be told by the CDC and by Fauci and by everybody that we needed to wash our hands with soap all the time. We're sort of looking around our virtual room saying, guys, we have a soap business. And that took off last year. It was an amazing win for my possibilities, for impact, for our HIPsters. And we'll tell you a little bit more about that later on. But looking ahead, we've got big goals for this year, and it's still kind of hard to see through the fog of what is still an ongoing pandemic. We hope that we see what the other end of the tunnel looks like. We understand, kind of what a timeline looks like, and we hope to get back to safe and full capacity this year, hopefully by the middle of the year if everything goes well. But we still have big wins, and MP Online is going to go from just being a isolated and managed component to a full bore web platform that we believe is going to be accessible to people with disabilities all over the state, all over the country. People have access to tailored and specific educational content that they're going to be able to learn from on an ongoing basis. It's going to be a big piece of our future. MP Residential, for those that don't know, a few years ago, My Possibilities acquired a 178-acre beautiful piece of property out in Garland, Texas, to develop a future residential site. This community would be 300 homes, 200 of which would go external, 100 would be reserved to support people with disabilities, and that project is moving forward this year. In fact, COVID to some degree kind of helped give us a little bit more time to get some things sorted out, and I'll tell you more about how you can get involved later on today. The MP Foundation has formally launched and is an entity and will become the future home for sustainability for My Possibilities and for ongoing support for our HIPsters and their families to ensure that they're taken care of for their entire lives. And it's a big deal. And I hope that you'll when you hear a little bit more information about how you can get involved, you'll consider becoming an active participant in the MP Foundation, not just MP. We have Building 2 is still on plan, so we did kick that project a year down the road, but we do hope to act on the second building, our Career Services Center. You'll hear a little bit more about what we hope to do in that building here in our interview in a little bit. That will move forward, and there are certainly opportunities for individuals, foundations, and corporations to get involved in what will be truly a one-of-a-kind facility that does not exist for this population. And we're gonna build it right next door to our current building. It's gonna be fantastic. And then Soap Hope is expanding. We've moved. It's near the MP campus now. The website is rebranded. It's relaunched, and we make our own products now. So there's an actual Soap Hope line, and there are gift boxes that you can buy in bulk. Our friends, we've had multiple corporations in the holiday season that found an opportunity to say thank you to their staff by purchasing gift boxes and sending those out to them. So every product packaged, pulled, shipped by our HIPsters that are working there at Soap Hope. So that's another opportunity for 2021. We see it improving. And then lastly, our career services team, which is a big part of what we do, is really refreshing and rebranding the way that we're engaging our corporate partners, and have already seen, you'll hear again today in our conversation, and how that is panning out. We have a number of companies that are engaging and see what that team brings to them as true value, not just for our HIPsters that are going to be employed there, but for their company, their corporate culture, and their diversity and inclusion initiatives. So with that, very, very excited to welcome our guest, someone who is very familiar with my possibilities. I'm going to introduce to you Mr. Bryan Gill. Tell you a little bit about Bryan. This is that wonderful moment where I'm going to talk all about you, at you, and you just have to listen to it and deal with it. But Bryan is the operations director for the business solutions team, also known as BEST, which is committed to expanding JPMorgan Chase's workforce talent pool by hiring differently abled employees with a focus on the intellectually and developmentally disabled community. Prior to the privilege of leading BEST, Bryan was a national operations manager for JPMorgan's commercial bank, with responsibility for various commercial bank operations in multiple locations. He's got 30 years of financial services management, bank ops, including 18 years with JPMorgan, the commercial bank, 12 years in bank card operations. And your previous roles include, it sounds, I mean, you've done everything. You're like, you are the quintessential like lifer, jack of all trades, but customer service manager, distress asset manager, project office manager, finance and analytics, and now you lead the BEST team.
This is the best job.
It's the best job. That will never get old.
Get a lot of mileage.
You should. So today, really what we're going to talk about, and for you guys to listen and gain some perspective on, is the relationship that we have had with JPMorgan Chase. And I think the way we're going to frame this conversation is kind of talk about how it got started and why. Briefly, just burn through what happened in 2020, because I don't feel like giving that year any more time. It doesn't need any more stage time, but then focus on where we're headed in the future. So with that, a kind of a broad starting question. How has JPMorgan Chase historically viewed the concept of inclusive employment?
So we've always viewed ourselves as an inclusive employer, but it's always a journey. So our entry into this space, it started getting explored seriously like 2018, 2019. We knew we needed to be in this space. We wanted to be in this space. There's many advantages that I'll talk to here in a moment. But we spent some time with our industry colleagues, Bank of America. Mark Woods was an amazing host, very gracious. Introduced us to you guys. We spent some time with you guys at your campus, trying to understand what our needs were. But being a bank, we didn't necessarily have all the competencies required to do this. So we needed a partner that could provide end-to-end service, fill in all the voids. That's where you guys came in. So it's been an amazing journey. It hasn't been 2020 was a rough kind of hiccup in the process. We got up and going in 2019, with your support, and I'll talk a little bit about kind of where you guys filled in the voids. We had a cohort of 10 HIPsters come in the fourth quarter of 2019. That program worked so well, both empirically and culturally, that we had 26 employees scheduled to start in March.
And I want to clarify, 26 HIPsters that were going to be hired as employees of JPMorgan Chase, scheduled to start in March of last year.
5 lines of business.
And so that's something that I think it's like right off the bat, you guys went from, hey, we think we should do this, to projecting yourself to be one of the single largest inclusive employers in North Texas. And the introduction, and I do want to point out, you mentioned the initial tour with Bank of America and Mark Woods. And I think that's such a beautiful example of cooperative competition. You've got JPMorgan Chase and Bank of America, clearly competitors, and I would imagine in 99% of the things that they do, try and keep their secret sauce and their recipe separate. But they literally said, come on in, we want to show you how we do inclusive employment. And you guys worked together to kind of come up with the initial game plan for BEST.
He said something that was initially that was very very important and something that we monitor to continue to convey. One of the reasons I'm here. You know, he said, even if you guys do this better than us, we all win.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and that's why we're willing to share and we're open to discuss with any employer who wants to talk about this journey, the very positive outcomes that have come.
I think that's, for me, that was one of the most important points that I wanted to get across is that, you know, JPMorgan Chase is going to be sharing details of their story, and you guys are here because somebody else is willing to share their story, and effectively my possibilities has served as a bit of a link, kind of a facilitator of these conversations. But I want to dive into what you said a little while ago, that my possibilities help fill in the gaps. So when JPMorgan Chase says we're doing it, we're moving forward, let's have a truly inclusive workforce, and let's go from this being a program to just part of the culture. Where are those places that you saw my possibilities filling in the gaps, or why specifically was our career services program such an important piece of that journey?
Yeah, absolutely. So first I'll start by talking about, you know, when we decided to do this, we decided to do it with intention. What I mean is that doesn't mean, you know, getting some resumes and trying to find jobs and opportunities for college. So that's an important, you know, process that can happen. We reimagined work, identified components of jobs where a person, a neurodiverse person or somebody even from the IDB community would actually perform that task better and be a better motivational fit. When you have talent matched to the task and the motivational fit aligned, good things happen.
Yeah.
So we did not have the competencies or access to the community to identify the talent. So our partners at MP, you know, Brittany Miles has been amazing, very accommodating, flexible partner. I mean, through all of this, we've asked a lot of her. But she actually came in early and we reviewed processes and looked at how to decouple that component of the process, that task, out of that process. And we had to figure out things like, how do you take it out of the work stream, complete the work, put it back in the work stream, have the right controls in place, all those other things. So we had a lot of re-engineering to do. But she would identify the task, identify the task, then work through identifying what competencies would be required to be successful at that task. Because our intent was to have somebody come in and perform it and hire them. So we wanted to be, you know, have a good conversion ratio.
Yeah.
Then she would go back to your student population or your client population and identify folks that not only the talents match the task, but the right motivational fit. Did this person want to work in Fort Worth or in Plano or wherever, Louisville, where we have various offices? You know, are they at the right point where they're working? You guys handle all the benefit stuff. You know,
Which is complicated.
it's very super complicated.
You have to have
So,
like an advanced degree
yes,
to be able to talk about that stuff with somebody.
we recently raised our frontline minimum to $18 an hour, and that sounds like an awesome thing for anybody involved. But unfortunately, all of our employees were positively impacted by that, but had to consider the implications to the benefits, and you guys handled all of that.
Yep.
Which we appreciate. We don't want anybody to be successful in all regards.
And I just want to point out too, that's something that we've seen a lot of different companies that will get to this stage of the conversation, and the benefit side is a little overwhelming. It almost feels like as an employer, you guys, the companies want to take on the responsibility of being that expert, but it's something that we bring to the table. And it's something that, to be totally frank, you almost don't want the corporate world to try and get in and become Social Security and disabilities income experts. It's complicated. And so that's something that you guys have sort of a peace of mind that when somebody's coming to you for an employment opportunity, that conversation has been had. That information has already been provided to them. So you don't have to worry about, okay, this job may mess with their benefits.
Yeah, for the audience, there's income and asset limits to be able to maintain Medicaid eligibility, particularly the waivers in Texas.
Yeah.
So
And then the big issue there, anytime somebody's heard me talk about the waiver list, if they were to lose Medicaid and lose that waiver, even temporarily, then the waiting list now is about 217,000 people. And
It's 17 years, over 15 years.
yeah, and so that's the big risk. We don't ever want to employ somebody in a spot where they're not educated to that and potentially lose access to that list. So anyway, yeah, continue. We're talking about the nature of the services.
Yeah, so it's Brittany and her team would go back and identify matching talent to task and the motivational fit. They would come in and support the employees through the ramp up, but they also would support the colleagues and the managers.
Yep.
Which is an important component. You want to have an inclusive environment, everybody needs to kind of understand what's going on, right?
Yeah.
Then they work through things like job aids, making changes. We've kept you guys, even after somebody's up and running successful, we've had some employees that worked through the entire COVID. And one of them had perfect attendance and was our JPMorgan's 2020 National Disability Champion of the Year.
Lovely.
Okay. National.
Yeah, but
Yes,
one of our guys.
yes, one of the
Then,
MPs,
yeah, that's awesome.
HIPster, working in our Louisville Black Amazing. But we also, when COVID came and the work protocols changed, we wanted to make sure that our employees were successful in that transition. You know, our philosophy is if somebody's brought in under the accommodation, we want to make sure that they have all the resources they need to be successful at any point during their tenure with us. So we brought job coaches back in, worked with them on some of the new protocols, and had this cool watchminder thing that would help remind them when to start doing certain tasks.
A simple accommodation,
Yeah,
right?
it's cool, right?
I can probably use that.
So we brought them back in and worked with them for just a week or two to get them adjusted to the new flow, and now they're up and running again.
So, and all the pieces of that process you just went through, you know, Brittany and the career services team are a component of supporting, whether it was sourcing the talent, doing some of the disabilities education, getting them placed, ramping them up, supporting the coworkers, and then being available if anything changes. And I think that's what I wanted to drive home today was this is not. There's some people that call us and say, hey, we want to hire somebody with disabilities, and great, awesome. We just want to make sure that that conversation is kind of holistically understood, that it's not quite that simple. The number of times we've seen somebody say, we're going to hire somebody, and we go, okay, great, and they do, and then we never hear from them again. 6 months later, that person comes back to us, the individual that we place, looking for another job. When we look into what happened, oh, well, he was engaging with this person, or then it's almost always cultural. It's a corporate culture thing, and we can help with that part of the process. So it's not super easy, right? You don't just launch into a 50-person hiring frenzy and say, we got this. You have to have support.
It has to be value added to be sustainable. So everything is this, you know, I'll be frank, it's not charity.
Yeah.
When I talk to business managers about the programming, we're trying to expand our footprint. We're actually going to Chicago in the second quarter.
With the best program. So you've been doing this about a year and some change, and it's expanding to another location in the US.
Yeah, and we're already, you know, this, the best program is actually from Lyme, so we're already talking to even other countries where we have it.
It's awesome.
Kind of started here. What were we talking about? Sorry.
All sorts of magical
Yeah,
things.
right.
Really just the nature of the process, start to finish, and the cultural needs.
When I talk to business leaders about the programming, first we talk about the business perspective, the empirical side, right? So we identify tasks that our guys can perform typically better. We have quality results, productivity results. Gotta talk about the good stuff.
Yeah.
The good stuff is the cultural lift that we see experienced in those operational areas.
Yeah.
The way the new colleagues are welcomed into those teams, the level of support they receive. They have these natural, you know, peer mentor relationships start to develop. I see them, you know, taking them to the break room if they need assistance, helping with their job tasks where they need coaching and support. And the warmth and camaraderie has just been amazing. It transforms these teams.
It's fascinating to think that the American public is excited. We get excited about the stories and the warm and fuzzies, and anytime they engage with somebody with disabilities at in the community or at a park or whatever, it's always this amazing experience. But we've not figured out how to welcome that same experience into the workforce. And what you're describing is that in spades. It is completely embraced, and you see culture transform. And it's, to your point earlier, it isn't charity. It's workforce improvement, it's cultural improvement, team improvement, and I have to assume productivity improvement as well. I mean, that these guys aren't just coming in and hanging out, they're working.
Yeah, they're absolutely working. They're absolutely working. You know, just give you an example of a process. We have a part of our bank that does correspondent lending, where we're taking in collateral files, thousands and thousands of them a day, and just manila folders with some mortgage documents. And at the end of the day, they need to be shipped out. So 2,000-3,000 files going out the door every day. And at the end of the we had a job called a shipper, and they were managing, you know, doing customer service, managing credit lines, checking in collateral, checking out collateral. At the end of the day, we had to QC the shipping files. I've done the job, and I was terrible at it. Because by the 30th, 50th file, I'm kind of, you know, low number borrow name, low number man off a transmittal. I'm looking at the files, low number borrow name, 30th item, your eyes start to roll back in your head.
You're thinking about what you gotta do when you get home. I have to mow the lawn this weekend. Like, you just start drifting.
But when we brought in talent that was matched to that task and the right motivation fit, particularly somebody that may really thrive on the structure and repetition, or somebody maybe that even stems on numbers, they were amazing. Yeah. And their colleagues were like, oh, thank goodness that our new partners here, our coworkers are doing this important task, because now I'm focused on other things that I might find more interesting and meaningful.
Yeah.
Right? And our colleagues love the work, you know, all of them love the work, but the entire department is elevated. Yeah. That doesn't include the good stuff, right?
No, that's the work side. So real quickly, tell me about 2021. It's a new year. We had this arbitrary crossover of the calendar, and we don't want to talk about, it's like the bad guy from Harry Potter. We don't want to talk about the name of last year. So moving forward, tell me about the JPMorgan Chase's plans for, you already talked about how it's moving, it's replicating, but locally, what are the goals for the best program here in North Texas?
Yes, I'm going to talk about two things. I do want to talk about something that happened at the end of 2020. You know, we had to kind of reimagine how we did this. We weren't able to put placements on our campuses. Yeah. Our workforce has been reduced. You know, 80% of us are working from home. So we worked with my possibilities with Brittany and the team to try to figure out what can we do differently. And we came up with the idea of supporting one of our lines of business remotely, doing data training, which is reviewing you know, data attributes in the process of building AI or machine learning, reviewing data attributes of the algorithms, trying to just confirm whether they're a match or not. And you can't automate training on the automation. Somebody's looking at it.
Yeah, you have to do
and
that.
Our data scientists were doing this work. So we decoupled that component, that process I talked about, and we figured out a way to source, hire, board, train, and support employees working from home. We had 4 employees, the right talent for this task. Started a 90-day apprentice in the 4th quarter. We tested the process, worked extraordinarily well, and all 4 of those are now new colleagues at JPMorgan. And this
working virtually still, or
working virtually,
yeah.
Working from home.
These are best team members.
Yes.
With IDD, with disabilities, that are working from home virtually.
Yes.
Like, I don't know if anybody else has done this. I don't want to put anybody else on blast, but from a corporate world, I can't imagine many people have figured that out.
They gave us budget to hire 2 more to the course of the work. And we also have discussions with other lines of business that do the same type of work too. You know, we want to be a firm-wide utility where we are known for this service.
So March of last year, it's 26 people hiring on site. COVID happens. Hiring on site is just a completely different thing. You guys adjust in the 4th quarter of last year and actually find a way to continue this inclusive employment work by hiring people with disabilities that are working virtually. And now you're expanding those efforts.
Yes.
And it's not taking 10 years. That's the thing that, and I just want people to understand that while this is a journey and it is a multiple year process, once you really accept this is going to be a part of our culture, you start seeing those opportunities. You start driving them as fast as possible, and they start paying off quickly.
Very quickly. We have 10. You know, we're starting to get back in business of placements. Business demands have not gone away. Now that the businesses have adjusted and understand, you know, what their building capacities are, we actually have 10 placements, on-site placements coming here in the next 2 months.
It's it's refreshing, it's exciting to hear any sort of movement, really in IDD employment at all, let alone on the tail end of what was one of the most challenging employment years for the country in history. So I appreciate JPMorgan Chase and your efforts. There's a lot of different companies that are represented today, some of who do some inclusive hiring already that I know for sure, and then others that are thinking about it maybe, or maybe some that have just really never given much thought to, oh, we could probably do this. If you had, you know, the elevator speech, so to speak, but if you were stuck in an elevator and you had 30, 45 seconds to tell these people they should do it, what would you tell them? What would be that message?
My message would be, if you want to transform your organization in ways that you can't even comprehend, not only from elevating your shareholder value or those things, but the intangibles have been the greatest learning and the greatest opportunity for us. The intangibles have been more powerful than anything that we could have experienced, that we expected. And that's been with us in many, many ways. So I would suggest work with MP, explore what the possibilities are. We've entered into spaces that we never thought we could. We've underestimated the capabilities of this programming. We keep underestimating it, and we keep being,
welcome to the
positively surprised and amazed at the things that we're able to do together. And we couldn't be more thankful for the employees that we, our new colleagues that we have the opportunity to work with.
You hit on something that I've felt for 15 years in this world, and I think anybody that works in this world, parents that have children with disabilities, we constantly underestimate, regardless of the situation, whether it's ability to learn, ability to work, ability to live independently, it doesn't matter. We always set a bar of expectation, and when given the opportunity to prove us wrong, they do every time. So I appreciate that. If I want to wrap up a little bit, we've got a few things I want to knock out before we get done. Would love for you to hang out with me and hear while we do this. This is sort of an ask component, but really it's an ask for you guys to get involved and fully acknowledging that there are many different people coming from many different perspectives, and there are different ways to get involved. So I want to make sure I give a little tidbit on each, and then we're gonna do a quick poll and see where you guys would love to stay engaged or get engaged. The first thing, I mentioned it earlier, the MP Foundation. This is not just a new kind of fun way of fundraising. This is an organization that will exist to support the IDD world, to support my possibilities. And this is the year that we set the foundation for the foundation. So if anybody's interested in the work that we're doing there, we would ask that you press the little button here in a second and connect with us. Building 2 is coming. It's a career services center. There will be, the whole focus of this building is to better prepare our HIPsters for projects like the BEST program at JPMorgan Chase. That building should have been up. We literally should be celebrating the completion of that building right about now. But we're going to be celebrating breaking ground this year. And if you're interested, if you're a business, foundation, or an individual that thinks that building sounds exciting, and the training that will come from that building is something you want to be a part of, then that's where we'd ask you to get involved. MP Residential is not going to just be a new project for us. We believe that this program and the services that will be offered in that community are going to be game changing for the disability space on a national level. And there are opportunities now to get involved on the work team, to get involved from an investment perspective. And if you're interested there, definitely want to have those conversations with you, because that's moving quickly and it's exciting. So you'll hear more about that for sure moving through this year. Impact and Soap Hope, you know what's going on there. If you'd like to, if you're even a business perspective, like our friends at Atmos, who have been buying sanitizer for their employees for the last 6 months, or our friends at Sodexo, who bought hundreds of gift boxes for employees and said thank you at the holiday seasons. Soap Hope has the ability to support you and your business. It has the ability to support you at home. Very simple. It's soaphope.com. If you're interested in getting involved in that project, you'll have the opportunity. And then just in general, what we talked about, the huge focus today, career services. You heard it from Bryan. It's valuable. It's not charity. It's cultural. I think it's essential, frankly, without jumping on the soapbox. I think it's about dang time that the world acknowledges the value of people with disabilities in the workforce. You should be active there too. So whether you're in an HR department or you just work for a company and you go, man, we have to do this, we can help you. JPMorgan Chase can help you. We'd love to usher in that opportunity. So right now, here comes a little poll. If there's something specifically that resonates with you, we would love for you to click one of the options that are there. Tell us where you think you'd like to be involved. And here's the thing too, you don't have to, you can feel us out. You can shoot a note to us in general, just say, hey, just learning about MP. I'd like more information on one or two of these things. So this is just an opportunity. If there's one that is the thing that you want to connect with or participate with, we would love to bring you into the fold, or at the very least get you a little more involved with some of the work that we're doing. So we appreciate it very much. You guys have spent 45 minutes with us this morning. I wish it was in person. I mentioned this earlier. I'm a extreme extrovert and I'm a huge hugger. This has been rough. All I want to do is hug everybody, and my hope is that the next time we do one of these, that this group of people is in person, that we can celebrate with each other. We can talk about all these amazing things that we're doing in the same room, but we're not there yet. So please, look, if you guys can find ways to employ people with disabilities virtually, you guys can find ways to get involved in my possibilities virtually as well. So if you need anything, you can reach out to me directly. We'll reach out to you as well. And we appreciate it very much. We're leaving you now. We're saying goodbye, but one thing I'd love to do is if you could, we have some Q&A up front. I want to answer those questions first, and then turn your camera on now. I know that sounds ridiculous, but we'd love to see you before you guys go. Quick question. They're coming in from the side. This is how tech. Look at that. It's amazing. How can we get information to hire HIPsters? Who do you speak with? You heard Bryan mention Brittany and the career services team. That's Brittany, Wendy, and company. Brittany's actually waving. She's one of the cameras there. You can reach out to her. You can reach out to me. You can go to the website. Rest assured, email anybody at MP. We will get you to the right person to hire some of our HIPsters. Let's see, what was the greatest obstacle? Here you go, this is for you. The greatest obstacle to overcome for the program that JPMorgan Chase launched.
The greatest obstacle. I think the greatest obstacle is probably just our own perceptions of what was possible.
Where that bar was set.
Yeah, the mechanics, we had to work through lots of stuff with the hiring process and boarding and all the mechanics and engineering processes, but that's just stuff, right? It was really understanding what this could be and not limiting ourselves. And I would encourage any employer that doesn't know where to start to just start with a phone call.
Yeah. And I know this sounds too simple, guys, but one meeting, one tour, one conversation will take you from complete, like, I don't know if we can do this, to we can do this, we have a game plan very, very quickly. And so really it is that take the lead, give us a call. One question about the online programming and the supporting HIPsters self-esteem, connection to the community. I mean, I would just turn this back on everybody that is currently capable of video viewing us and engaging with each other here. Imagine from March 16th last year, you had no ability to communicate virtually or in person with anybody other than the people you live with, and that existed for a 9-month, 10-month, 11-month period. I know what happened to my social well-being, my mental state. It would be a travesty, and I think for our HIPsters, it's very much the same. Online programming has served as that social connector, has continued to allow them to voice how they're feeling, what they're doing. I see Aaron, one of our guys, is actually on camera right there nodding to that. So I appreciate the acknowledgement. Does he work?
He's one of our guys too, Michael.
Full disclosure, Aaron, I've never told this story publicly, but I was hanging out at a concert once in Deep Ellum, and Aaron just walked up on me hanging out, and we apparently like the same music. So with that, we'll adjourn. We appreciate you guys. Clearly, it's a Friday morning. It was 7:30, and you had to get up early and listen to us talk. And that in and of itself was an accomplishment. So congratulations, everybody, on the way that you started your Friday. But we thank you for your continued engagement with MP, and ask that you double down on your efforts and your involvement. Figure out that next pathway, whether it's hiring and creating a program like BEST, or getting involved with one of our incredibly important pathways, the creation of the foundation, the launching of MP Residential. There's a lot of really great stuff going on, and our goal in 2021 is to become not just an organization that supports adults with disabilities in a few ways, but to create a future pathway to being an ecosystem to support a person with disabilities in any way that they need support. That's our goal. So thank you again for joining us this morning. Bryan, thank you so much, not just for being here, but for the work you guys have done at BEST, and truly a leading example in North Texas and across the country of how quickly and how effectively people with disabilities can be welcomed into the workforce. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you, guys. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you soon, we hope. Be safe. Wear your mask.